you for contacting our services here at Previous Lack of Advanced Contraceptives, Evidence by Not Taking Action, otherwise known as placenta.
Placenta is managed by a team of trained professionals who will help you to plan accordingly so that you have a happy future.
Placenta is centered around you.
We are here to guide and nurture you so that you won't have to guide and nurture a little something that you weren't expecting.
After all, that is why you're here.
Whether you already have a family or you're planning to never have one.
So you need to be prepared.
So, congratulations. We know placenta is for you.
Join us as we embark upon an adventure called
Contraception.
The standard days method is a kind of calendar method. It is a way to keep track of your cycle. You may find it simpler to use than other methods. You can only use it if you have regular cycles, your cycle is never shorter than 26 days, your cycle is never longer than 32 days, you will not have unprotected vaginal intercourse from day 8 through day 19 of each cycle. Most women use special strings of beads for the standard days method. They are called cycle beads. It helps keep track of their cycles. There are 33 colored beads and a movable rubber ring on the string. The first bead is black with a white arrow. The next one is red. The next 6 are brown. The next 12 are white. And the last 13 are brown. Each one except the black one represents a day. On the first day of your period, day 1, you put the ring on the red bead. You move the ring from one bead to another each day in the direction of the arrow. Brown beads stand for safe days. You can have unprotected vaginal intercourse when the string is on one of them. White beads stand for unsafe days. Do not have vaginal intercourse unless you use a cervical cap, condom, diaphragm, or female condom when the ring is on one of them.
The calendar method is a method to track menstrual cycles to prevent pregnancy. It is for women with menstrual cycles from 26 to 32 days. It is not that effective, especially because the timing of your period can change. During day 8 through 19 of your menstrual cycle, you should abstain from sex. Days 8 through 19 are days of increased fertility and an increased risk of conception. All other days present a lower risk of conception. With the calendar method, mark the day when your period first begins as day 1 and circle it. Then mark the same day of the week 1 week later as day 8. Count forward to day 19 and abstain from sex during these 12 days. This works because ovulation usually occurs about midpoint of your menstrual cycle. The greatest chance of conception occurs about 1 to 2 days before ovulation. If recently gave birth or been breastfeeding, start using standard day method after 4 periods. If been using contraceptives, you may begin using this method on first day of next period. Don't use the calendar method if all cycles are shorter than 27 days. It can only predict what are most likely to be safe days. They should always be used with other methods. The advantages of standard days method is that it's free, it is natural, it's the only contraceptive technique supported by the Catholics, there's no risk of health effects, it's associated with hormone-based contraception, there's no long-term effect if wanting to get pregnant, there's no medicine needed or no prescription. The disadvantages with standard day methods is that there's a large window of potential fertility. It's not as reliable. It requires abstinence or use of condoms. It requires a high degree of attention. It doesn't protect against STIs. And they can't have sex for most of the month.
Alright, now let's talk a little bit about the cervical mucus method. The hormones that control your cycle also make the cervix produce mucus. It collects on the cervix and then in the vagina, and it changes in the quality and the quantity just before and during ovulation. With personal instruction, many women can learn to recognize these changes. Instruction is usually given one-to-one. This method is also known as the ovulation method and/or the Billings method. During your period, your flow covers the mucus signs. After your period, there is usually a few days without mucus. These are called dry days. These may be safe days if the cycle is long. Now, when the egg starts to ripen, more mucus is then produced. It appears at the opening of the vagina, and it generally looks like a yellow, white, cloudy substance, and it feels sticky or tacky. Usually you will have the most mucus just before your ovulation. It looks clear and feels slippery, likened to raw egg white. When it can be stretched between the fingers, we call it Spinnbarkeit, which is German for stretchable. And these are, quote unquote, your slippery days. It is the peak of your fertility. After about 4 slippery days, you may suddenly have less mucus. It will become cloudy and tacky again, and then you may have a few more dry days just before your period starts. These are also safe days. Now let's talk about the benefits of the mucus methods. First, they are natural and do not cause any side effects. They do not require any special devices or procedures, and it does not cost anything, so it's free. Women become more knowledgeable about their menstrual cycle when they use this method. Also, mucus methods are suitable for women with irregular cycle lengths. That would be a cycle less than 26 days or greater than 32 days, who cannot otherwise use the calendar-based methods. Now, there are disadvantages and limitations to mucus method. Women must monitor the changes in their cervical mucus on a daily basis in order for this particular method to be effective. This makes the method inappropriate for some women, especially those with unusual vaginal discharge or who are not comfortable checking themselves. The ovulation method requires women not only to monitor for the presence of cervical mucus, but also to note changes in its consistency, and is therefore more difficult than the 2 days method to use. The ovulation method may require changes to sexual practice, such as not having sex 2 days in a row on the first half of the menstrual cycle and not having sex in the evenings. Additional contraceptive methods or abstinence are required if couples wish to have vaginal intercourse in the fertile period. The methods do not protect against sexually transmitted infections. Women who have sexual partners of a known STI status should, whenever possible, use male and or female condoms to protect against STIs.
The temperature method. Your body temperature is lower during the first part of your cycle. It usually rises slightly after ovulation, when the egg is released. Your body temperature stays elevated for the rest of your cycle. It falls again just before your next period. Tracking your temperature every day can help you know when you ovulate. To prevent pregnancy, you will not have unprotected vaginal intercourse until 3 days after you ovulate each cycle. You will need to chart your basal body temperature every day. Basal body temperature is the temperature of the body when it is completely at rest. It varies slightly from person to person. Before ovulation, 96 to 98 degrees Fahrenheit is normal for most women. After ovulation, 97 to 99 degrees Fahrenheit is normal. The changes will be in fractions of a degree. Take your temperature every morning as soon as you wake up. Do it before getting out of bed, talking, eating, drinking, or having sex. Keep the thermometer in place for 5 full minutes. Read it to within 1/10 of a degree. Record the reading. Advantages of basal body temperature. Since this is a natural method of contraception, there are no side effects that could cause health problems. The users of this mode of contraception are more informed about the menstrual cycle and understand it better. The user will therefore know more what is happening in their body. When the temperature of a person is monitored well, it is a highly effective mode of contraception. It is also a very cheap method because all you need is a thermometer and a chart. Since it is a natural method, people who believe artificial contraception is wrong can use it. Disadvantages. When the temperature is not monitored properly, it is not as reliable as other methods of contraception. This method of contraception only allows you to have sexual intercourse at a limited time, so you would have to use another method the other time. This method requires a lot of work because you have to constantly monitor your temperature. This method has no protection against sexually transmitted infections, and certain people cannot use this method because some women have a health condition which causes their temperature to rise naturally. Here at Placenta, our job is to help you decide which birth control is better. To learn more, visit us at www.placentafree.org.